Start
What
over.
just happened? My brain. Am I having a
Music was
stroke?
like doubled up or something. All right,
was,
here we go. Yeah.
Intense.
Podcast episode 25, I believe, is episode 25. Is celebrate the 25 anniversary of podcasting.
That's because that's how anniversaries work.
Yeah, this is a very special occasion. We're doing a normal episode.
Wow. What is this?
Amazing.
What is a normal episode? What is it? There is no normal episodes with this podcast. If you're new to the podcast, we are. I'm the Sunny Machine, joined by Snazzy Bastard, Eat Your Meats, and Highly and Pickles. This is our usual crew for chatting and discussing different streaming things, stuff that's going on in the streaming space with Twitch and other platforms as well. We'll probably discuss some of the stuff, but if you're streaming on any platform, a lot of the stuff that we discuss is pretty relevant in general, or even if you're just a content creator in any space. If you're making any kind of content, what we talk about could probably be helpful. But if you are a Twitch affiliate, you can join. We have a community. You can apply to join. So go to the website, infantquality.live, and to put that in the beginning of the episode instead of the end, because who knows if anybody hears the end.
Subscribe.
No, that's actually, yeah.
If you
That's a
do,
good idea.
yeah, if you do listen to the entire podcast all the way to the end, wow, congratulations! It's quite a feat.
Just
We
wait
have
for the
our
secret
undying
message at
respect
the
that
end.
point. Yeah, exactly. Stay tuned for the after credits secret message.
We should really quickly plug last week's episode too. Was pretty great. We had a very special crew. It was a great episode. It was a female perspective on streaming, and I would highly encourage everybody to go listen to all of the episodes of our podcast, but last week especially, so episode 24. And we're working on more special guests, more special episodes, so look forward to that kind of stuff in the future. But today, the special is the four of us are back.
We're special.
We're special.
Yeah. So today we want to talk about, just kind of have a general discussion on streaming etiquette, and what is this? I think we should just start. Is there like an expectation? Okay, first of all, let's just say you can do whatever you want. First, right? It's your stream, it's your channel, it's your content. If you want to not take any of what we are about to say about stream etiquette to heart, or think we're completely wrong, sure, that's possibly true. Honestly, I don't think there's like supposed to be any kind of hard and fast rules about streaming. It is a very creative, exploratory space, but a lot of what we're going to talk about is actually it's just supposed to be like helpful perspective, because I do think that there is and you guys can disagree with me or whatever on this, but I think that there is kind of a larger meta when it comes to Twitch, for lack of a better term. And if you fall too far on the outside, you may be doing a disservice to your stream. And I think without proper perspective or approaching what you're doing holistically, first of all, if you're going to break the rules, you should know what the rules kind of are. That's maybe a better way to put it. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely, because also there are hard and fast rules. They're called the TOS.
True.
Certain rules
True.
will get you banned
True.
if you break them. So, or at least break them often enough for somebody to notice.
True.
Or hard enough, I guess. But I know, I agree. I think you kind of have to know what's expected of you as the broadcaster, right? If you are going to be, if you're aiming for different, right? But you have no idea what normal is, you could land on normal again and think you're being different, but you're being just like everybody else who's doing the same thing, right? So you kind of have to know what it is viewers expect to see baseline when they click a stream. Like,
Y'all are
obviously,
blowing
right?
my mind with this, like, existentialism over here.
What do you guys? What's the first thing you think of when it comes to like bad Twitch etiquette?
Well, first, the people who decide what is and isn't appropriate for the stream is the streamer and the mods at that stream, right? So, sure, there's not like any hard and fast rules, but if the streamer kind of sets the tone
Sure.
for what's about to happen, and there are more appealing kind of tones and some less appealing ones, but I don't know. The first thing I think of about like stream etiquette is like what does the streamer and the moderators allow to happen?
So
I think
go ahead.
I think to some degree that's dictated by the community as well, right? So it's sort of it's a group effort, and what you create is based on what kind of community you allow. And I guess initially that's dictated by yourself as the streamer and your moderators, but overall, the community will reach up and take over if needed too when things deviate from what's considered good etiquette in your space, right? Because ultimately it's your space that you're creating.
Yeah, to
So
some degree, that's true.
Yeah.
I do think that there is some like general etiquette that all streamers would benefit them to stay within those boundaries a bit. For instance, for me, one of the big ones that is like we've all maybe made this mistake early on too, calling out lurkers, right? Like or viewers in your chat who haven't said anything, new viewers, or bots that do it for you.
Yeah.
These are like the wider Twitch space kind of frowns on it. And if you don't know that, I mean, if you knew that, maybe you wouldn't do it. Maybe you'd get rid of Wisebot or whatever it is that is calling out the new viewers or how many viewers you have too, right? Like
There's
that's
people do this on Twitter too. Like, there's bots that tell you like, oh, 2 new people followed me this week, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Why?
Well,
why
like,
do you need to
especially-
have that out? Out in the public.
Especially like the ones that call out like specific usernames, like somebody clicks on the stream and then the bot's like, "Oh, hey, this person's here," and it like adds them in chat.
Oh,
Like, that's a
hi!
thing
I've
I've
noticed that
seen.
you've taken interest. Please.
That's a thing. I didn't even know that was
Yeah.
a thing.
That's
That gives me so
actually
much
a thing.
anxiety. Now I'm never going to go on someone's stream that I've never been in before because
We've ruined Twitch for me. She's gonna be like, oh, they might have a bot.
So
Can't
this
do
is-
it.
call me out.
This is something you need to keep in mind. I think a lot of new streamers, they sign up for like everything under the sun to try to see what it does. And if you don't know that it's a bad idea to have a bot that shouts out like a person that came into the stream randomly, hey, welcome to the stream, new viewer. And it like puts their name in the chat. Or if you, the streamer, do it, that's even big. Like, woof. Like, you want it really? This is a big no. Like,
If you look through your viewer list and like
yeah,
call out people, it's so cringy. There's
Don't look through
there's
your
no better
viewer
way to say
list.
it than cringy.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
never look through your viewer list. Why would you?
There's no
Please.
point.
I've actually done it on purpose. When a streamer that I had like some friction with, some beef with, like randomly showed up in my chat like a year later after like being really mad at me. And I was like, "Oh, I see you." And
Well,
he was
they're
like,
just
"Oh,
quietly
go ahead."
hate watching
Yeah,
you.
go-
Just let them
Yeah.
quietly hate
No,
watch you. It's
I didn't.
fine.
I didn't even think about it, to be honest. I
There's
just
a
said it.
difference
I
though
was like-
between like looking at your viewer list because like, oh, I'm about to say something that maybe X shouldn't be around for, whatever. Like, I kind of get that, but it's the whole calling them out part that's problematic, right? You can look at your viewer list all you want if you don't acknowledge it, right? If you don't call those people out by name, they don't know what you're like. You could be looking at whatever right on the screen as long as you're not calling people out.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the big thing, right?
You should
I've
basically
also,
go ahead.
I've also seen like well-meaning moderators be like point out the view count and stuff like that. Like,
Oh.
wowee, you got
Wowee!
8 people here.
Oh my goodness!
Like, shut up.
Also, just sorry, as a viewer, please don't be the guy who's like, "Oh man, did you get rated?" It's a lot of it's a big number you've got at the bottom here. Please don't
Oh,
be that
yeah.
guy.
How come so
Please
many
don't
people
be
are
that
here?
guy.
It's like I don't even know how
It's
to
just a really
take that.
awkward thing. Like I don't know how to respond to that when somebody points out those kinds of things. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well,
like
I do.
the
I respond politely and just like move on.
yeah,
but like
but
generally, like it always catches me off guard a little bit to see.
Yeah.
the insinuation there also is that like you somehow wouldn't be able to pull those numbers without a raid.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
wow, there's like 10 people in here. What happened? It's like, shut up.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of those
Thanks.
backhanded compliments.
Same-
Like,
it's just-
you look not tired today. It's like, oh, well.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm tired every other. I look tired every other day. Huh? Yeah.
Also, like like also just low key. Please stop telling streamers they look tired. We know. Listen, shit's
wait, but
exhausting. We know.
Don't we all kind of look tired right now? I feel like
Yeah.
that's, or everyone's baseline at the moment is tired.
Yeah,
And that's
Yeah.
okay.
yeah.
And
I'm
also,
feeling,
if
I'm
you-
feeling tired.
It's time to go.
right?
It's the end of the
If you
episode.
stream for multiple nights a week, like if streaming is like the thing you're doing, right? And even if you don't have a day job, like streaming is exhausting, dude. Streaming is legitimately draining sometimes, right? No matter how much you enjoy it, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot that also goes into it after and before the stream as well, right? So, and then also like just you
Mentally-
you never know what's going on in somebody's personal life. Like don't be pointing that out.
Yeah, we've all
Like,
got
don't be
stuff,
like- Yeah.
right?
Although on the flip side, though, this kind of going with the etiquette thing, like if you know that you're in a bad space mentally, physically, all that stuff, if you could tell you're run down, maybe
Don't host a
maybe
party.
don't turn on the camera that night.
Maybe it's not
Yeah.
a knife to invite people over and hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah, if things are on fire, maybe don't order a pizza. Skip that. Take care of what you
Back
need to
to
do.
the raids thing on the other side, like when a streamer, so speaking more from the streaming perspective, a lot of these shouldn't even need to be said. I think the lurker one is something people don't really realize innately, but I've seen people get hosted with like 2 viewers or something or rated, and the streamer doesn't like say anything. They don't even recognize it, or they say, "Oh, thanks for the 2 viewers," or something like really negative about like a small raid. I
Well, I
don't
think
know.
it's even weird to be like, if somebody raids with like 90 viewers, like, look at that fat 90 viewer raid.
I hate
Like, that's
Yeah,
awkward.
I
shit.
guess
so
you're
many
right.
people do it,
I
and
just-
Yeah.
I hate it so much.
I never call out the number of a raid either, because it's just like, if you're gonna,
You
if
would
you're
if
gonna
it
take
was
the
like
time,
69 or 420.
Yeah.
Right, like
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like
but like generally, I treat every single raid the same, and because it's just people being nice enough to want to hang out
Yeah.
with you, right?
yeah,
And
you,
bring all their friends.
it's a social
It's just an
thing.
extension of calling out numbers, and it's like why?
Yeah.
Like,
Le-
and also like those numbers don't really actually mean a whole lot because like let's face it, if you've streamed for a while, you know that you could literally have 100 viewers and then you go to a raid and 40 of them fall off.
Oh,
right?
yeah, for
Like
sure.
you have no idea how big
Right.
that
people
you know,
always
that
leave.
streamer was before they came here. honestly.
And then like 10 of them are probably just asleep.
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Sort of
10
carry
of them
on.
are
They wake
asleep,
up in the
5
morning,
of them
they're 4
are
raids down.
dogs that you are babysitting,
yeah,
or children or something that you're babysitting. So
Right.
yeah, yeah.
And we have no way of knowing that, so that's why I just like generally just treat all of them the same.
The same.
Like with
Yeah.
the same.
The way you
respect and
should treat it is that somebody is trying to be supportive of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Whether it's they're bringing 100 people or 1 person, somebody looked through their viewer list and said, I'm gonna go there. If there's any attention on me, I'm gonna put that attention on you now. I'm supporting what you're doing, and that's how it should just be seen. There should be no like expectations and judgment of whatever the situation is. And I think you should just
somebody's trying to get to know you, right? Right. Somebody's trying to meet you
Yeah.
maybe for the first time. You
they're
know?
being supportive. So just maybe be thankful, have some gratitude towards it. Unless your thing is to be like a total dick or something. But even then, I've seen most of those streamers still like take a moment to be like, thank you for the support or whatever.
Still acknowledge it in some way, right?
Yeah.
Even if it is, even if your brand is dickishness,
Yeah.
acknowledge it with that same sort of brand that you would normally, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of goes to what you were saying, etiquette. Also, like I've seen this happen plenty of times where like streamers, especially smaller ones, will just like ignore chat. Like people will say something and like the streamer will look at it like 5 minutes later maybe and just kind of like either gloss over it or barely like acknowledge it. Like interact with your viewers, right? Like I know like we say like you can kind of stream whatever you want and kind of it is your own space. But if you're not interacting with anybody in that space, you're doing yourself a disservice, right? You're
Yeah.
preventing yourself from growing by basically trying to shut out everybody that's trying to come in and hang out with
Yeah,
you.
if you want to grow your stream, which
Well,
is
like-
Oh yeah, I suppose. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. I guess yeah.
Why would you stream if you don't feel like hanging out with people? Like if you
yeah, it's a social experience, right? Like
yeah.
you're
You could
just
be making
being
YouTube videos
antisocial.
if that's the case.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, and turn the comments off. Right?
Yeah, you could be making content that doesn't require you to be live if that is your goal, right? But if your express goal is to I'm going to be in front of an audience, there is an expectation that you will in some way interact with that audience, right? Stand-up
Right.
comedians interact with their audience.
Yeah,
Right? They have to. It's
Yeah.
it's the nature of
And
the
it's
job,
not-
right?
It's not just like hecklers either. It's just like
Yeah.
they're talking to the people in the audience just naturally.
a
Like
lot
the
of it's
best
like
comedians.
a dance between the comedian and the audience as a whole, because
Mhm.
even public speakers, like they typically watch people in the audience and see how they're reacting to what's being said, and there's more communication is going on than just people speaking. You have body language. We don't have that
Yeah.
with Twitch. We have chat. The activity and the emotes in chat are like the closest thing we get to like
Body language,
reading
yeah.
your body language as if we're like a stand-up comedian. So
But even on a Broadway play, like there's like the best people in a play like that are the ones who can like very intuitively figure out what the audience is thinking and feeling and play on that, right?
yeah,
Like and present themselves rather than like what's the word, like you're acting the play, you're not reading the play, right? You have to like
Yeah.
actually like perform for the people that are there to watch you and not just perform because you have to.
Yeah, well, like they don't. A lot of those people in those like stage performance vocations, even if they don't like directly have a conversation with somebody, they are like they'll say something kind of pointed and like make eye contact with somebody in the audience, and that's another like just a little form of communication. Which, as streamers, our equivalent of that is essentially like talking to people, right? Saying their username,
Looking at the
or
camera.
Looking at the
yeah,
camera.
occasionally looking at the camera too. Like,
I know people get
We
weird
don't-
about that one.
I'm guilty of that one myself because I forget to do it. Like
we-
look at the camera. At
How do
least
we actually
once,
feel about
please.
this? Like making eye contact with the camera. Is it creepy or
You
is
don't
it
have to lean in, but look up at least.
Yeah, occasionally you have to look at the camera.
Near the camera.
Absolutely. You know, and like if you're like playing a game or something, absolutely. But like it'd be weird if you're playing the game and looking at that'd be really awkward. But I think you do have to make eye contact. And it's like, it's interesting because it's actually really a social phenomena where different cultures and different societies, the amount of eye contact that you make is different, right? And it's not like a written rule,
true?
but you can
True.
feel it, right? You can feel awkward if someone's making no eye contact or if they're making like way
Staring
too
at
much eye
you.
contact,
Way
right?
too much.
but it's not a dictated thing. It's a cultural thing. And I think that's one of the things that we feel uncomfortable and struggle with because there's no like ruling, there's no like social feedback really that we typically would get in a standard social situation that
Yeah.
makes us realize how much eye contact is appropriate. So you have to actively think about what's a normal eye contact for you talking to someone. And that's what I try to use is like if I'm playing the game and I'm just talking to like, vaguely, that's one thing. But if I'm like really directing my attention towards chat or an individual, I try to use what I feel is a normal eye contact and just kind of pretend that I'm talking to like Wally or something. He looks kind of like Wally on he does. His little face looks like Wally's face.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
well,
also
like
like,
the-
Sorry, go
The
ahead.
trick I used was just positioning my camera above where my
Chat.
chat is on screen. So when I read chat, I'm facing camera.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yep.
Just putting it close enough is usually enough.
Yeah,
Like-
like I'm not staring directly into the camera,
Yeah,
but like
you're looking in
I'm
that direction.
facing
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's like also, but like the downside of being on camera like that is also kind of like Meats was saying. You don't know how much eye contact is appropriate, but also like you just don't. Sometimes you don't know if you're being off-putting and weird, right? Because in real life or in offline life, if you're being weird and off-putting, you can see it because people like pull back from you a little bit. Like you don't know if you're being that necessarily when you have no sense of what the other person is doing, right? You only have their text to go on, which most people are going to be polite enough not to go like, dude, you're being weird, right? Most people don't tell you that outright. Like you would see that in their face if you were hanging out with them, but like most people aren't rude enough to go like, dude,
chat
you're
will
being
tell you.
weird right now.
Yeah, maybe you just have to have someone to ask, like, dude, am I being weird?
Yeah.
But not in like a good way, like a bad weird, because there's good weird.
I think that's what you need to your mod team at the end of the stream should be like, hey, dude, like you're being weird.
Yeah, having friends help you is a good idea.
Yeah, have friends and mods. Yeah.
Yeah. So back to kind of like general attitude towards things as a streamer. One of the things I see people doing quite often is their chatterbox while playing a blind playthrough of a brand new game that they've never played before, and it could be someone's favorite game. A new viewer's coming in and they're like, "Oh, this person's never played this game," and then boom, cutscene hits, and the cutscene's got all this dialogue and characters, and it's like real important. And the streamer turns the game down, and it just starts like, "Oh, you guys, I need to tell you this. I went to the grocery store, and this lady, and they're like, just start talking over the cutscene, and your new viewer is like, bro, like, why? What are you doing? This is my favorite game. You're not even paying attention to the game. Why are you playing the game? Like,
I mean, to some extent, I get that. Like, people want to be chatty, but like, I've seen people like straight up pull out a phone and start browsing. I don't know something.
oh yeah, okay, like say,
while
yeah,
cutscene's going on.
Oh
you're
yeah,
like,
there's a cutscene.
okay. You're very invested
Check
in what's going on
Instagram.
here right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I've got a new Twitter alert.
Oh,
like, come on,
boy.
dude. Like, at least pretend like you're enjoying what you're doing, right?
It's a matter
I mean,
of
it's like treat it like you're doing a React video a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you should be interacting with the content that's like probably the bigger part of your screen, because that'd be really weird if you were like the big part and your game was the little part. So you should be really focusing in on the content that you're playing. When it's a blind playthrough, I almost treat it like a React,
Yeah,
100%.
100%.
Because it should
yeah.
be, because you don't know what's going on.
That's actually your time you don't have to like super over engage and be all chatty, because it's expected that like what you're doing right now, it's like watching a movie. If you're going to invite people over to watch a movie, like, okay, some people talk during movies. They should be
Hate them.
not
And there's a
allowed. That
special
should be
place
a
in
They
the
should
rule.
rule.
watch
Those people,
movies
yeah.
alone.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I know people that talk during movies, and it drives me crazy. But, like, if you're playing a game for the first time and you're having that blind first playthrough experience, you kind of want to absorb yourself in it as much as possible, good or bad. And like you're saying, treat it like a React. That's what the value of it is. And that's also why I try to tell people not to do blind playthroughs too early. They're like, blind playthrough is a good thing to do when you have viewers. If you don't have viewers yet, you're like kind of squandering it, right? Like, especially some games. It's like your first time playing a game ever. It's people's favorite game. You've never played it. And like, what, you're going to do it for two people? And you can't go back and do it again. It's like blind playthrough 2.
I don't remember anything about the first time.
Yeah,
around.
I have
Anything else
game
was about
amnesia. So that's just something to think about for sure. I think really you just want to kind of contemplate the presentation of what your stream is doing, and who you might be attracting with the kind of content that you're putting on. And if you want to do a chatting stream and talk over cutscenes, don't have cutscenes. Just go to just chatting and hang out and watch YouTube videos, and nobody's gonna mind too much about that. But if you're gonna do it like with somebody's favorite game and it's like a story-driven game and you're not even paying attention to the story, it's like. And on the flip side too, there's people who like try to read everything in the game, you know, and that might be there's like a balance you need to strike. I think for some games, like some games are like really heavy, like Fallout. Can you imagine reading like every single thing that you picked up in Fallout? Like,
I would argue though, if you can do it entertainingly, it's not so bad.
Yep.
So like I read all the like I try to read a lot of the items in certain games that I play, but I read it in like a cute voiceover kind of voice.
You get away with this. You get a little bit more away with this because I think, and I hate to use a gender card, but I think because you're a girl. I'm not kidding.
No.
I'm not kidding. I think you can get away with it.
Absolutely not. I can think of examples of people who have beautiful voices that are able to, you know, change their accent or change their voice to be able to read things in a very soothing and interesting way. And I think anyone can do that.
I think it's just having a good voice.
I don't know.
Right? Some people have a better reading voice or radio voice. What do we call it, right?
I don't know.
I think if you
I've seen people try to do
ways,
it, and it's just like viewers are just dropping off because nobody wants to be.
The thing is though, I've seen girls do the same thing, and people get instantly turned off just
Yeah.
for
I think
a lot of the wrong reasons, mind you. But you know,
Meats, I
I've
think
seen
you
it.
have a good formula for doing it, and I think that it's more well thought out than I'm just reading it out loud. You know?
Right. I think it's periodically, it's thoughtful, you know, like I don't read every item the moment I pick it up. It's usually kind of when it feels like a good spot to do it, unless it's something really exciting.
But also,
Yeah.
if you're doing like, for example, like if we take, as an example, name drop Jared a bit. If you're doing like a specific thing where that's the expectation, right? Where you are like combing through the game.
Well, he's
where
doing. If you're doing a lore crawl, is that what you mean?
a lore crawl, or you know, if
Okay,
you're
yeah, if
doing
that's
like
the
a whole
point of the stream.
analytical thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I
Or
think
you
I'm
could,
just thinking about people who are playing a game really casually. They pick the item up, and then they put on a funny voice, and it's a different funny voice every time. There's no consistency. It's really cringy, and you know they're not very good at reading it.
Ooh, but if they're really bad at reading it, it's really cringy. It almost swings all the way back again. That's the thing,
And it's
right?
good
I
again,
guess
yeah.
if you have an
Then it's good
audience, it could be good. Good, yeah.
I think also potentially like if that's what you're known for, right? If that's what you've
fair,
been day one, right? And this is always you. This is just how you are all the time. You can totally get away with it because your
Yeah.
community's come to expect that, right? And then anybody who's new to the community,
Yeah,
usually like people tend to pick up on community things pretty quick. Like if they see that everyone else is enjoying it, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm down with this too."
I'm
Even if they
I'm
wouldn't
looking at
normally do.
more like people who don't have an active chat. They've got maybe 4 or 5 viewers, and you know they're doing this kind of thing. You may want to stay away from that, and maybe you could try. It's something you could play with later when you do have viewers to see how people react, because you kind of
But-
need to get that reaction.
Yes, but I would say the worst thing that people will do sometimes is they'll pull up something and they'll sort of like half read it, like they're reading it to. You know what I'm talking? They're like reading it to themselves. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
like, "Oh, this is a-"
I've been guilty of this during Horizon Zero Dawn because there's just so much reading sometimes that I'll literally just like I'll say the first word in a paragraph just so people know where I'm at and like just like barrel through it because there's just so much. It's so dense on the entries.
Oh, it's
It's like
infuriating. Don't do that.
well, I think if done correctly though, you can give the impression off that you're speed reading, right? That you're reading through some very quickly and just acknowledging where you are in the paragraph structure.
That
right?
you're reading it. You're just trying to give people a sense that you're reading it.
Yeah, but
But
it is
are
a
you, though?
gamble. But it is a gamble.
So,
because,
but
yes.
so this is a
could be
spectrum
annoying.
here. You're talking about like not reading it out loud, but kind of like cueing people into the fact that you are reading it. Well, Meats, I think you're talking about somebody actually reading it, but not any energy and just like barely getting the words out and like
Yeah,
they
it's,
go
If
through
you're
the
mumbling-
entire
yeah, if
thing.
you're
and-
just making noises and mumbling, yeah.
well, it's kind of like you know when you like are trying to focus on something that you're reading and you sort of like half whisper it to yourself. Or am I the only person that does that?
No, most people do that.
No,
Right.
I
No,
think
you know
everybody
what I'm
does.
talking
whisper.
about.
I
Like you're-
I very whisper to myself.
Like you're trying to like bake brownies and you're trying to just read the directions, but it's like you have to say it
half
because
a
it
cup
makes more
sugar.
sense when you do, but you don't like first you do that. You kind of go, okay, you know,
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
do this
yeah.
kind of. That drives, dude. That's no.
It's
not
even worse
cool.
if you start like calling yourself your own name. Like, come on, you could do this. Put half a cup of sugar in. Like,
I believe in me.
I'm
It's a
learning so much
matter
about
of
Snazzy.
people do
being
that on stream too. They'll be like, come on. I mean, like, pull yourself. You know, like people say their name
Yeah.
on stream.
well,
Yeah.
people
Exactly.
do that in like sports and stuff. Like that's just
Yeah.
a thing.
E-
But
ev-
this is all like a matter of being thoughtful about presentation, right? Like if you're playing like Doki Doki Literature Club, you're gonna have to read the whole thing because nobody wants to sit there and watch you like
True.
silently skim a visual novel
True.
with your eyes. But then,
Which I
like
have
when
heard is
it,
amazing, and I kind of want to do it.
Doki
You
Doki,
should, but
Yeah, I've heard it's an
don't
experience.
look anything up about it. But yeah,
yeah, as
I
an
don't know
aside,
anything
yeah.
about it.
Perfect.
But also like then there are games like Horizon Zero Dawn where like for me personally, like I don't want to sit there and read all of the descriptions for every pickup, so I just default to saying reading is for nerds and move on. Like we go do something else. And if something like seems interesting, I'll start reading it, but like
If it's
it
something
kind of just
important,
depends on
yeah.
the game.
Yeah, it
like,
does.
just
Does
being
depend on the
aware
game.
of that.
Yeah. True.
If it's something important versus something that's flavor, you know, like
Yeah.
you could skip flavor stuff. Most people, right? Most sane people, most sane viewers will forgive you for not reading item descriptions. Okay?
Especially a
There's-
game like Witcher 3 or something.
Oh yeah, there's a couple of dudes who'll be on you maybe because like they really love item descriptions. I don't know, but like you know, most people
can't please
won't fault
everybody.
you for not like you know giving them a Shakespearean rendition of every item description.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you do something, you want to do it with intention. Just kind of just as a general rule. If you're gonna
The-
read something, read it with intention.
The flip side is I've actually seen this too. I can't believe I have to say this, but I think we'll all agree. I've seen people like mute the game entirely and put something else on, and like I don't get that at all. Like your own music or something, and I'm not talking about they're playing like a repetitive game that has no story. They're playing like a. Go ahead.
Speedrunners, I've seen speedrunners.
Yeah,
do that
speedrunners
just
is
because-
fine. That's different. That's
Yeah.
that's
They
different.
know the game intimately, and
Yeah.
people aren't there
Yeah.
for like the story and stuff.
That's what I'm
right?
saying. That,
Yeah.
I'm just saying there are situations where, even if it is a story-driven game, even if it is a game where sound is kind of important. For example, Bloodborne. I would argue sound is very important in Bloodborne.
Sure.
It adds a lot to the atmosphere. But if you ran Bloodborne 600,000
That's
times,
different though.
that's fine. You
Yeah.
can play your own music
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
I think Sonny's talking about like blind playthroughs.
Yeah.
where
Oh
they
yeah.
have-
Yeah.
Blind
Blind
playthroughs,
for
yeah,
blind.
don't-
It's my first
don't.
playthrough of Skyrim. Let's listen to Eminem.
They're just like they have
That doesn't even
vaporwave running
thematically
in the
match. What the
background.
hell?
I'm not kidding.
Sounds
That-
terrible.
I mean, like, at least if you played Sabaton, I can sort of think, like, oh, yeah, this is what it should sound like. But, like,
Viking
you know,
metal.
So that's a lot of negative stuff happening. Let's talk more positively. So one of the things we always tell people, this is real simple, talk to chat, even when it's not moving. I'll say this again. I always say it. You don't need chat. Chat needs you. Chat will light up and respond to things that you're doing and you're saying.
Couldn't agree more.
So that one's real basic. We've talked that one to death on other podcasts as well. I've seen streamers not be all that thankful for support of their stream. You know, they've got 3 or 4 people, they're talking, but the streamer's upset because they don't have 20 people or 30 people, or they only have 30 people and they wish they had 40. And so people are there and they're hanging out and they're talking and people are following and the streamer's like, you know, I don't know. The stream's not real active tonight. And they're like real Debbie Downer on everything that they're doing. They're just super defeated. Like no matter how many, like people are there supporting you, they're talking and you're like just digging your own grave with like it being the worst situation ever. It could be worse. There could be no one there. There could be no
I
one
mean,
talking.
40 people is a small movie theater. Like,
Oh,
that's,
yeah.
that's not...
10
that's
people's
not
a party,
Yeah.
right? So,
It's crazy.
and I've seen people
I think-
not be thankful for raids or follows or tips even. They're just like, you know,
Yeah.
just they.
I think there's a. I think it depends on like people's motivations for even streaming. Why some of that stuff kind of happens, or maybe it's one of those instances where they're having a bad day and they shouldn't have hit the live button or something like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like,
yeah. That plays a lot into it. So
we get to stream for free. So anybody who like wants to come and hang out or show support in any kind of way is just like that's part of the reward, right?
Yeah.
'Cause we're all doing this for free. Nobody's paying us to hit the
Yeah.
live button.
yeah, true.
I think
Yeah.
that there's a role for like measured gratefulness. You know, you have to I don't know, I always make sure that I take time to just be like, hey guys, thanks for being here. Your time is incredibly valuable, so you being here is great. You know, and also thanking people for bits and subs and etc. But like, you know, kind of poo-pooing everything except like a huge
Raid
sub
or
bomb
something.
or
yeah.
huge
Yeah.
same thing with raids, right? So like even if it's the little things, sometimes I find sometimes people like come in and sort of test the waters. Does that make sense? Like they'll drop like 5 or 10 bits and just see how you kind of
React.
how you
yeah.
are, and if you seem really chill, they'll like throw a bunch at you. Has
Yeah.
anyone experienced that before? And I
Yeah.
think like having that measured gratefulness of, you know, you're not gonna like lose your crap over $10, but you also want you've seen people that are like that too, and you're like, all right, like
Well, some people look for that though. Some people like, oh man,
that's fair.
they freaked out at $10. Just wait till they see what I have in my wallet. Like
That's fair.
some people look for. I hate to say it, some people look for streamers they know they can break easy, like with money. Like, because some people overreact, right? Some people
Yeah.
put too much emphasis, and that's also like another thing, by the way. Like when it comes to etiquette, like if somebody throws 5 bits at you, maybe don't throw a parade for 5 bits.
That's what I'm
all I'm
saying.
saying.
Measured gratefulness, right?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for the 5 bits. That's enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, don't have like a 30-second clip every time someone hits the follow button. Like,
Yeah,
you know, it's a balance there.
So, being thankful is actually probably one of the most important things. I think there's people try to fake it too often as well. You want to, and maybe you're not even faking it, but maybe you just seem fake when you react because you're on camera and you're uncomfortable. I think there's people that, like you're saying, maybe they overreact to 5 bits or something. It's kind of, gratitude is like it's such an important factor for streaming because it's honestly the only thing you can give back when somebody is supporting your stream. If they're viewing your stream, what do? I mean, there are other forms of gratitude that go a long way, things we could talk about, but they require a lot of effort, a lot of money, a lot of time, and you're not going to be able to do it in kind for everybody. You can't be like, it'd be very difficult to give everybody who gives you 100 bits a postcard or something. Like that would get really old really quickly. It'd be a lot of work. So, and it's very hard as a streamer to show gratitude appropriately. And so I think a lot of times you just want to be careful on how you're coming across either way. It's very important to show gratitude. It's the currency of your stream that you can return in kind. Somebody is supporting you, they're viewing, they give you bits, they give you a sub, they host you, whatever it is. Like, it goes a long way to be thankful. And the more authentic that thankfulness is, the more currency you actually are like giving in turn to that person supporting you. So just really try to be as thankful as possible for even the little things, but you don't need to go overboard and freak out. It's like, it's more important to be like genuine than it is to have like a hype or something. Right.
And like I was saying, like the fact that it's a live show, right? For some viewers, that is what they're after, right? They're after that affirmation. They want to be thanked, right? They want to be acknowledged. Because otherwise, they would just watch a YouTube video where none of that matters. So to be able to interact with a viewer who is trying to get your attention in some way, right? They're throwing bits at you. They're throwing subs. Maybe they're throwing out gift subs. Whatever it is, right? clearly that person, that person deserves at least a moment of your time, right? At least a little bit of your time should be spent acknowledging that person, right?
Mhm.
How important is it to? So let's dig in a little bit because we're getting towards the end here. So how important is it to keep your cool on stream? Have you guys ever
It's
lost?
the most important.
Have you
I
ever
would
lost
argue.
your cool?
No.
Twice.
Yes.
Well, I can't imagine Hylian. Do you ever lose your cool? Like,
No.
yeah.
No,
I
he's
think
too
Hylian's
small.
completely just made out of cool.
Yeah. How do you do that?
Like
You're
100%
the most stoic
cool.
person I've ever seen.
I don't know. I don't know.
Practice.
It's in your genes, right?
Practice.
See, Hylian's one of those people that I could sit and listen to like him reading item descriptions for hours.
And he
Yeah,
won't
easily.
do it.
Lovely. And he
That's
won't
the
do
best
it
part,
because
yeah.
reading's for
Reading is for
nerds. But he has
nerds.
that voice.
And then I'll hit a redeem that makes him make it draw that item for me or something, because
Yeah.
no,
So-
it's listen. We've talked about this the concept of this before: bad mad versus good mad.
Mm.
Like there's mad, the streamer's being funny mad, and then there's bad mad where you're going off on viewers or mods or something, and it's very obvious that you are frustrated, right? Like
Yeah.
at that point, you may want to think about just calling it a day.
Because there's a line, right? Because if you're getting frustrated, generally at the game that you're playing, like whether it's a rage game or Dark Souls or whatever. Like that's the good mad that people like to see. It's the frustration that like the shared experience that we all had getting frustrated at this game. You're getting frustrated at it too. But then the line is when you redirect that.
Break your
at
controller.
chat. Yeah.
Break chat, or you
Like,
break chat. Yeah, break the relationship.
It's no longer mad at the game. It's mad at everything, and that's when
Yeah.
it becomes bad mad. Like there's no
Yeah.
the shared experience of being mad at the game is now lost. Now it's
Yeah.
just awkward.
I mean, confession, I've yelled at viewers, not because of the game though, but because the viewer was like
Right.
being annoying, and even that, like I've lost my cool on stream because my problem is I tolerate things too long and let them go on too long, and I should just not have strangers in voice chat with me. Like that's a big one that I didn't know early on. That I should be trying not to have friendly voice conversations with everybody, because people will come in and try to dominate, and then you feel like, well, this is my stream. Like, can you relax over there? And then they don't, and then you lose your cool. Like, so you kind of need to figure out yourself here. Like,
Yes. I was going to say the
I've done
same
it,
thing
yeah.
because I've lost my cool really from technology issues.
yeah.
Sunny can attest to this.
That's an easy trigger too.
Yeah, so I'll be like on and like something will break, or like I had everything set up beautifully and then I start streaming and I hit the like play the game button and it's like nope, or something. And that's what is much more likely to cause me frustration. And I haven't cried, but I've definitely gotten
Come close.
closer than I would ever prefer to getting. Not that crying on stream is necessarily a bad thing. It's absolutely not. It's good that you have that vulnerability. But, I think it's good just to realize what gets your goat a little bit, what has your number, and just have that introspection to be like, I'm approaching this space that I know I can't always guarantee that I will be able to maintain. So I need to step back and approach it differently or something.
And sometimes it's like I've raised my voice at a viewer like about 2 times that I can think of off the top of my head because they were acting out, right? And sometimes it's called for. Like if somebody is being just very rude.
Yeah, but
sometimes
the
they do
viewers
be-
may not know that.
Yeah.
People could
But-
just literally have just popped into your stream and you're yelling at somebody.
Oh, yeah,
And
that's what it is. You have to be very careful about how you approach that because you're not just like. It's not that just like okay. The example is like disciplining a child, but it's like disciplining a child outside. Like there
Yeah,
are
at the
other
grocery
people
store or
around.
something.
Yeah, and
Right. Yeah,
everyone's
you're at the grocery
uncomfortable.
store.
You
Yeah.
have to temper that with the fact knowing that you are being watched.
Yeah.
And it's not a private conversation. You're not talking one-to-one with somebody. You're talking to somebody who's standing in a group of people. And
Yeah.
it's very easy for somebody in that group to think that reprimand is also being aimed at them when it's not. So you do have to be very careful. Even like I said, even if the person deserves it, even if the person needs a good talking to, you have to be very careful and deliberate about your word choice and what you say and how you say it.
Yeah.
Okay, final section, and this one's going to be the most.
Oh,
I don't
boy.
even know.
Oh boy.
So, I've been into streams where people have half-naked GIF girls or JPEGs taking up a giant section of their stream, thinking people will click on this because I put girl in corner of my stream. What do we say? What do you guys think about this one? Is this breaking some sort of Twitch etiquette, or
I think it's just kind of trashy, right?
yeah,
I was gonna
yes.
say it's definitely it's
It's
passe.
really, it's really like obvious why they have that there. It's like, you ever see those guys that have T-shirts that like the full thing is just like a topless girl in a bikini, like
Yeah.
bikini bottoms or whatever. Like that's kind of the vibe I get from people who have those kinds of images and
Unironically.
gifts. Yeah, just
Yeah.
unironically wearing like half naked women on their T-shirts. It's the same thing putting it on their stream.
Well, that's always the
It's very
challenge, right?
trashy.
Is being able to figure out when people are doing something ironically or not.
Well, like for me, like
If it happens 100% of your stream every time you're live, it becomes unironic really quickly.
the difference between doing something unironically and doing something ironically is there is no difference because you're doing it either way.
Well, that's the thing, right? If someone but that's a really interesting thing though, in some ways, because like depending on how ridiculous it is, or depending on how off kilter it is, you have to take into consideration if you have a new viewer come in, how quickly is it going to take them to realize whether it's ironic or not, right? So take weird hot tub stuff, right? And I mean like funny weird hot
Weird
tub.
stuff.
But like sometimes it's hard to tell, and there's definitely like flags that make you realize whether it's ironic or not. But and if we want to pull a gender card, right? If I was to do a weird hot tub stream, it would be a lot harder for them to realize that it's ironic, depending
Yeah.
on what I'm doing. Maybe if I'm in a sumo suit and like it's jelly beans, right? It has to be even further from there. But, just realizing that you have to think about if someone stumbles in, how quickly are they going to determine if it's someone on the neurotypical-ish spectrum, we'll say that. How long is that going to take them? And are you okay with that, right? Are you okay with someone coming and be like, oh, this dude's kind of like some funky stuff? And I mean, that's fine, but like realize that you may get that impression from people if you aren't so obviously ironic, right? And I almost feel like you just need to have like, this is ironic as like a
I don't
flashing
know.
thing at the top.
Yeah.
Irony, yeah.
I think
I
Big
love
irony
that.
sign.
for me, it's just like if you think you have to put some kind of like, if you need to grow your stream using a picture of someone else's sexuality to sell your stream, you probably don't have a very good stream. Like,
Well, like think about the people you'll get in. It's gonna be like weirdos and perverts that are
was gonna say, like,
gonna
that's- yeah,
point and
that's-
think like booba.
That's the community you're
then
going to
just,
build.
like-
Is going to be people
Yeah.
who unironically enjoy that, right? And if you're okay with that, if that's what you want to do, I mean, far from me to tell you how to live your life.
I just
but,
think
like,
there's different websites than Twitch. Maybe you should go stream on.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
There
You're
are plenty
competing
of
against
free
the
websites where you can do that.
Yeah.
You're competing against the rest of the internet at that point,
Yeah.
not just Twitch. Like, right?
Yeah, and I don't
Not
think
just other
anybody who
streamers.
listens to this podcast or ever will listen to this podcast are doing this. So, but I
But
just
that also goes to not just like trashy like anime pictures. It kind of
Yeah.
goes to like, if you're pandering to anything that's like, popular or whatever, just be aware that like you'll get a lot of people who are just there for that, right? And they're not there for you. They're there for whatever it is that you're co-opting in place of it, because that's really what it is. You're using it as in place of something you could be doing to attract and to maintain
Yeah.
a community. You're
Yeah.
using it as a crutch essentially. So just be aware that whenever any kind of gimmick like that, you are going to get people that are more there for that than they are for you. And if you ever later down the road try to move away from that, right? If you've been in that for so long and you try to move away from it, you are going to then have potentially some issues moving away from that. So
Yeah. I think there's not much else we need to say about that. The last thing I want to do is I think a lot of the reasons some of these Twitch etiquette and behavior stuff is important is the small things add up. But in general, the stuff that actually is making a stream function, and this should maybe even be an entire other episode of the podcast, but I just want to break it down really quickly to kind of point out that there are common things that do help streamers be successful on Twitch. And every big stream on Twitch, there are some exceptions, obviously, but for the most part, in general, they all have this similar things in common. Number one is they have good communication skills. So they're good at communicating. They know how to articulate. And in a lot of ways, that's one of the most important skills that you can have as a streamer. You're on a microphone. You have lines of discussion and communication with your chat and with people. And so being a good communicator is actually an incredibly valuable skill in this space. So, it can help you have better Twitch etiquette and be free to kind of cross boundaries if you're a good communicator. So if you want to figure out things you can do to kind of free yourself up and do what you really want with your stream, become a good communicator. I would say that's a great place to start. You guys all agree with that?
absolutely,
it's important.
Communication, yeah. That, like you said, that's the only way you have of interacting with your viewers, right? Yeah, visually there's some interaction, but the bulk of the interaction is communication. So
Yeah, and
Words.
people
It's
are not
words.
afraid. It's about how they're not afraid to discuss things, and they have the right amount of tact when discussing things, even difficult topics. I think this is kind of important to approach. This skill needs to be increased for all streamers because you're going to be in situations where you might be asked to discuss something that you are uncomfortable talking about, or at least if you know that other people are uncomfortable talking about it, it allows you to approach it from the right angle. If you're a bad communicator, you're also probably going to be canceled very easily, right?
Cancel.
So number two is most of the bigger successful streamers, they understand those boundaries, the things that do make people uncomfortable and the things that people are comfortable with. And that knowing where those boundaries are allows them to kind of play the game. And what I mean about that is like streaming is play. You're playing with your viewers. It's not about the game so much as it is like the party that you're throwing or the atmosphere that you're creating. You're playing. You're playing along with everyone. And the better you are at understanding the rules of the game, and the better you are at knowing the boundaries and what makes people comfortable and uncomfortable in general, you can play the game better. You know how to organize your team so that the play is fair. And that's really important. If you don't play fairly with your viewers, if your stream isn't playing along well with others, you're not going to get invited to play again. You're not going to get invited back to play, and people aren't going to want to be invited to play with you, right? And so if you look at your stream like you're playing with around, you're having fun, it's a game, you're playing with other people. The more you understand the rules and the boundaries of what's going on, the more freedom it gives you to actually play. Number three, all streamers who are doing well, I can pretty much say 100% of them very confidently are high in trait openness. And what that means is They are willing to try new things. They are good. They're open to discussing new ideas. They have this allows for your communication skill to be at its highest level. This is the thing that allows you to have discussions with other people. If you're very closed, the discussion doesn't go very far, right? If all you like is one type of candy, how do you have a discussion about other candies, right? So having an open mind and being open to new things and new concepts is one of the most valuable things a streamer can actually try to express with their stream, because that openness will allow new viewers to connect with you. If you're very closed, you're gonna have a harder time connecting with new people. It makes you very one-dimensional. And all of these things that I'm talking about are things that can be exercised and flexed and improved as for you, the individual streamer. You don't have to be people. You can change these things. You can work on how open you are to new ideas, and you can work on your communication skills, and you can work on understanding the rules. And the last thing, and this might be the most important, is streaming is such a social thing. It first and most primary thing is that it is a social experience for the viewer and for the streamer. So being interested in people is a very valuable skill. You can be interested in things, and you can be interested in people. And if you have a higher interest in people while you're streaming, being interested in your viewers, a new viewer comes in. Where are you from? How are you doing? Being interested in that person is a great way to really kind of glue your community to you and glue everything together that you're doing. So these are the 4 things I would suggest everybody kind of like think about and work on. And do you guys have any thoughts on this?
Well, like we kind of mentioned earlier, like why would you stream if you don't want anybody to watch, right? Like it's partially it is part of the entertainment like area, right? And it's also kind of customer service. Like you wanna...
I can answer that question because
Yeah, go
people
for it.
think that if you stream, people will throw money at you. They may not
That's
want
true.
people to watch. They may just want money thrown at them, and that's just a bad motivation. But I can see that potentially being sort of
True.
It's
a
also,
contention there.
For me, it's
That
the
is true.
same for people who don't watch Twitch at all. Like, if you're not a viewer, how are you ever going to succeed as
Only give me money.
viewer?
YouTube
Yeah,
is too hard because of editing.
right?
I will
I
sit
hate to say,
here,
but some
play
people
games
do come off
silently.
that
You
way.
give me money. All right.
Some people come off that way. They're like, I couldn't figure out the YouTube algorithm, so here I am. You're like, okay, cool.
It becomes really obvious when you don't care about others.
Absolutely.
So you're not going to get people throwing money at you if you don't have a good way to express that you care about other people. That's why gratitude earlier we were talking about is so important, and it being authentic.
And also,
Yeah.
if you're getting into the streaming business because you think you'll be a celebrity overnight,
What
please,
what
just
what,
go
what
do
in
anything
what world?
else.
In what when
Go
has
do
this ever
anything else,
happened?
please.
I've
It
never
happens.
seen this
People just
happen.
they see headlines like Ninja makes $1 billion.
But he
Yeah,
streamed
that's
for
what they do.
how long before
I know,
that
but people
happened?
aren't reading
But-
that article. They're reading
Yeah, exactly. People aren't reading
just
his life
that
story.
yesterday's headline about how he made so much money, and then like
They're
people
seeing-
are like, you know what though, I could do that.
Man plays video game and people gave him money. I play video game.
Yeah,
I could
Yeah.
get money too.
Yeah.
the surface level connection that they make to just jump on here and be like, all right, where's the people? Give me the money. I did it. Well, that's why a lot of people like make. I don't want to call it a mistake, but that's why like a lot of people think that if they start streaming Fortnite and Call of Duty, then they'll take off. Like that's where they start because they want people to find them are in those incredibly oversaturated categories because that's where the famous streamers are.
People start out wanting to be Ninja, not realizing that we already have Ninja. We don't necessarily need.
We
Ninja
don't need another one.
2.0.
Yeah.
We got Ninja for that.
Yeah.
if people try to be Doc, we have Doc. We don't need another
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Like, please do your own thing.
Yeah. Okay. Any final thoughts? Or are we good? We want to send them off?
I would always say just be. It's all about knowing your audience, knowing where you are and what's going on around you. There's a time and a place for everything on stream.
Ooh, time
Be
and
aware
place.
of what the time is, and what the place is, and like, you could talk. You could stream any way you want, talk about anything you want, but like, know your crowd.
Man.
Read the room, as it were, right? In a weird way.
Yeah, time and place is a big one. Big, big, big.
It's my thoughts. Be grateful. Give attention. Don't be a jerk.
I
That
like
last
it.
one should be painted on the entryway.
Don't be a
of Twitch,
jerk.
like,
Pickles.
Be thoughtful. Be thoughtful about your presentation, your intention. Be considerate. Be a human being. Streaming is a social experience. Just know that before you get into it.
True.
so, like, P.S. Don't be weird.
True. Okay, that's the podcast episode, everybody. Go check out.
Like and subscribe.
Oh man, my command in chat didn't even work. It was just
Oh.
disabled.
Infinite quality. Affiliates.
Where you too can learn to make commands like this.
Oh man, that's right.
That Stream Elements will then ignore.
It wasn't Stream Elements. It was fine. Okay. Thanks everybody for hanging out. We'll be back next Wednesday with another episode. And if you guys ever have a podcast topic, questions, you can hit us up on Twitter, come to our channels, and we will see you guys all in the next one. Thank you.